Right now, MSG-136 is very much the focal activity within NATO for everything that's related to M&S as a service or service-oriented ideas within M&S. So basically we're looking at technical aspects like what are service infrastructures, what are service architectures, what are interface specifications that we can use, what are data formats, what are data exchange mechanisms that we can use, how do we want to connect services, how do we define services, etc. So we're looking into all these aspects, but we're also looking into the organizational aspects. And this is where it becomes interesting, because in the end, what we want to have is a permanent and sustaining NATO M&S as a service infrastructure, so that you can basically access M&S services 24/7 without the need for large or long setup processes. And if you want to set up a permanent infrastructure, you need to make sure you address the organizational perspective. So who's going to maintain this infrastructure? Who's going to do the governance? How do you handle updates of services? How do you roll out new versions of services? How do you handle security aspects? Who is in charge of basically configuration management, etc., etc. So these are all questions that we are going to address, because only the technical perspective is not enough.
Linked in with simulation users and service providers working across government and industry community. So we're building upon the DC process. We see, for us that's still standard systems engineering. That process is still perfectly valid in a new sort of modeling and sim as a service environment. We're looking at three aspects. If you click through once more. So this is just one of those services that we had up and running, and this is something that reusable that we can bring up anywhere. And I take it now down to the stakeholder community, to their offices, and we can demonstrate a starter of this system. I'm saying, this is by no means the end of the road really, but this is just that starter for starting to get things into this construct where we can replicate it and access it from wherever we are. If you saw the brilliant turnaround time we had there, 4 minutes to set this up and get it going, sort of shows some of the agility we have in the access of this. This is just a little bit of a flavour, a prototype of where the UK are. For us, working with NATO, we don't want to do this by ourselves. We want to have common ways of